So now we're going to look at the you posts. So you posts are, some people love them, some people hate them, but they are the ones that tend to get the most engagement and reactions from people. At the end of the day, particularly small businesses, people buy from people. So it's really important to make sure that you are seen. If you get a request on any platform to follow somebody or for you to follow them and there's no picture there, you're unlikely to follow them because you don't know who it is. It looks like spam. So actually, while people might like all the other posts you do, if you don't know who you are, then it's unlikely that they're going to pick you over a face from another company that they can see. So intros. So you want to do an introduction to yourself. And whenever we look after somebody's social or work with somebody, we say that's the first post you should do every single time. And it really should be in there at least once every 2-3 months. Because if you think of your social growing or new followers coming on, they don't know who you are. So the introduction should be something you do regularly. And it doesn't need to be a boring, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm the manager, I do this, this, this. It can be just a wee video or a picture and just pop it on just to say hi, thanks for the follow, maybe a little bit of information about you that they would not know otherwise. It doesn't have to necessarily be about the business, it can be about you as a person. At the end of the day, people are nosy and they want to learn a little bit about you. Behind the scenes and a day in the life are great little videos to do. Again, people do want to know what's happening within the business. They can see your final product, they can see what it is you do if you're doing your credibility and promotional posts. But this part is where you tend to get to know somebody better and see a little bit of personality. So it could be as simple as in your stories you do it behind the scenes, or if you've got a particular visitor coming in or something interesting happening, or you want to showcase a part of your business. Like if you work in events and you want to show how the venue looks before and after you set it up, then people love to see that behind the scenes. And again, it can be a series of photos, it can be a video, it can be a time lapse. So, and they don't have to be as well edited as your other posts. It is a behind the scenes, it is a personality. So it can be your true day-to-day life. This is where people get to see you. So you don't need to edit it too much. And we're not talking about influencers and that Instagram life here. We're talking about you and your business and how it runs. A day in the life is very similar, but it's a longer version of it. So whereas behind the scenes might just be one aspect of the business, a day in the life is going through the full day of what you do. Now, as we know, it's not always that exciting. Sometimes you can be sat in front of a computer all day or doing one task that takes you all day. Probably not going to make the most exciting social. So what you can do is pick a particular day, plan a day where you have multiple things going on that showcases your work, or take bits from throughout the week in order to create a day so that people can see exactly what's happening. Also introduce your team. Now, this doesn't necessarily need to be people you work with on a day-to-day basis. Some of us work on our own, we don't all have teams, but it could be people that you rely on, be it a supplier or a client. It could be somebody that is your accountability partner, somebody that really helps you run your business. There could be people that you couldn't run your business without, despite the fact that they're not in your team. So do we shout out to them? Again, it's that personal side of the business too. And if you do have a team, then make sure you get them on there too. And then your story. People want to know where your business came from. What was the idea? What made you start it up? What drives you to keep it going? We all know that not every day is super exciting, and some days it's hard to motivate yourself. So what is your story and what keeps you going, and what's your ambitions for your company? So this gives people a really clear insight. Your credibility and promotional posts, I always feel, are very much like the shop front. So people will see what you do, see you're credible, want to come in to the shop, and then they get to meet you, and this is where they start getting the real proper interaction and learning about yourself. So it's really important to do these ones. And yeah, even if you're not comfortable being in front of camera, find one picture you're happy with and get that up every 2 or 3 months.